Today's video is brought to you by Jaws mousetraps. Oh man, snap! These things are the shit. Now I don't get mice in the house very often, and when I do, it's usually because I left the garage door open. But all you gotta do to set this thing is just go like that, and you're good. These things are like a little Iron Maiden. They're spiked. See the marks on this wood? It's not that horrible. I could probably put my finger in there and not bleed, but I'm not gonna. Fuck yeah! Jaws mousetraps! They're the shit! On this job, notice that these spur gears on the end of the steering shaft are getting pretty worn. Once this thing starts skipping and stripping, which it looks like it's just about to do, it's going to fuck this up too. So you might want to check on that and see if it's going to be something that you need to change while you're under here. I'm not going to. I'm too old to be working on the fucking ground. This is it. 2 more machines and I'm not taking on any more fucking work. Fuck this. These are all favors for friends. The guy I sold my small engine company to, he doesn't answer his phone, so watch your eyes. $10 says she's stuck. Oh yeah. Fuck yeah, it's stuck. These either fall off or you gotta beat them off like a fucking attacker. Where's that big fucking pry bar? I got lucky on that one. It wasn't so bad. Now to the back of the front. Look how much fur we got on this thing. Holy shit. Obviously this is not a well-maintained machine, but you gotta pull this, get that box out, and then look and see what's in there. What the fuck, man? Really? Yeah, fucking not there. Oh, shit. Can't even see it. Every fucking fastener is a different size on this piece of shit. I always take the negative off first. That way, if you go to take the positive off and you accidentally touch ground, you can't make it back to the battery, so you can't get a dead short. Whoop. Started going the other way. Alright. Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. I got you. So this just lifts out. And then hopefully this one just lifts out. Most of them do. Oh yeah. Okay. There we go. Now, take you out here. What you see here is we've got the long belt coming from the front. That drives this double idler here, and then this double idler is turning the transaxle. Now the faster the transaxle turns, the faster the machine goes. And oh fuck, see that? Oh my god, I think that pulley's got to come off to get that belt out of there. And there's a weldment up top. Oh shit, I don't know. I don't remember. I'm gonna have to go down there and look again. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Pull those things off and you know, do whatever's working. That's pretty much it. I'm going to change these out and we'll see what it looks like when we're done. Alright, so the plot thickens. This upper pulley had to come off because the clearance between the frame was too tight. Get the belt around that pulley, so this one's going to come off. And then the same goes for right here. New belt's not going to slide in there. And the only way to get this bracket off is to remove the rear axle. And there's a nut that's kind of like right in between the axle and the bracket that holds this on. Obviously there's no way to get this off from the top, and that's not fucking happening. So as with all Joe 30 pack videos, there's a little bit of hackery involved. I'm going to bend this out of the way just enough to get the new belt in and out of there, and this one might slip out, but I don't think the new one's going to. I got it. Fucking piece of shit. We'll deal with the steering column last, because that part, if I remember correctly, bushings fall out and all kinds of shit. Yeah, this job totally sucks. If anybody ever asks you to change one, tell them 500 bucks. Now the steering shaft should pull up. Oh yeah. A little bit. There you go. Just kick that off to the side. Now, should be able to get that fucking belt off the crank. There we go. So I gotta get this around that. I don't know why I thought I had to take the steering plate off. I have in the past for whatever reason. Maybe for replacing these bushings. See, this one's all worn out. That one's all worn out. That's probably what it was about. I'm fucking hooked over here now. Fuck. God damn it. What a fucking piece of shit. Ugh. Now we're hooked on something over the plate. So, yep, there's a fucking thing there. God damn it. Plate's gotta come down. I was right. Alright, that belt job's finally finished. There wasn't much else to show. I mean, just me cussing and swearing. I decided since the deck was off, I'd flip it over, see what the blades looked like. This one was just spinning, so it was loose as a goose. Wasn't even connected to this little star pattern, but I thought this was worth mention. These MTD spindles have that little star pattern, and it's really important that the blade engages. Where's that piece of shit? This thing had this packed all up underneath here, so then whoever sharpened the blades last just put the blade on there and tighten it up with obviously hand tools, because the other side that was engaged to the star came right off with my little 3/8 gun. So when you put these on, it's important not to put the blade on upside down, because once you take them off, it kind of like, I'm not sure. These things, the upper wing on pretty much any blade is always going to be facing upward. So make sure that when you go to put the blade on, you engage the star pattern, and make sure that's not fucked up, because if that's fucked up, you either need to replace the spindle or the blade. You don't want one of these flying off. They usually don't go anywhere, but still, you don't want one of these flying off. And if I would have started this deck up, it would have sounded like a helicopter underneath there. It rattles the deck real bad, and that's kind of like the telltale sign that you got a loose blade. You better shut it down and figure out what the fuck's going on. Okay, there is absolutely no possible way I'm going to be the next guy on this machine, because I'm never going to fucking work on it ever again. But I am going to be cool about it. Put a little grease on these threads for the next guy. Alright, so we got the blade back on, and you see it spins freely. So you definitely don't want to pull the trigger on an impact without some kind of something holding it. Now, I've been doing this long enough. I'm comfortable holding the blade with my hand. The blade's on this side. I'm just going to hold it. Give it everything she's got. That's good. I got a real weak compressor. I don't know what the pressure is, but if you saw Abe's last video, or it's coming up soon, he explains what bullshit those ratings are anyway. So the last thing you want to do, if there's any wobble to the blade, it's going to stripe the grass and eventually the spindle is going to fail. So keep that in mind. Make sure that the bearing surface is nice and tight, which this one is. So is over here. Okay, so the one halfway decent thing I could say about this machine is that the deck goes on pretty good. Once you position it under the machine about where it's got to be, I like to jack up the front end just a little bit. Not for more workspace, but because it kind of helps you align where you're going to lower these. First thing I do is I hook that bar into the front. And I can never remember if that's the way to do it or to hook the pins in the back. But these are quick pins. I like that. Just lower the deck adjustment all the way down. That way you can manipulate the deck. Slip this into those pinholes, and then your front's already connected, and run the deck up and down a couple of times before you turn it on. And also, I didn't show you, but once I flipped it over, check all these idler pulleys and pivots and make sure everything is intact, because the last thing you want to do is go to test a machine and smoke a $40 belt, especially when the customer is expecting the thing back. So this was a friend job, and I regret it. The deck is in place. Easiest way I can remember to do this is to hook the back pins first, then hook that crossbar in the front, or the support bar in the front, because it's got a nut on it that you can run off, put the bar where you need it, slip it through the hole, and then just tighten it up to make the deck level when the wheels are on the ground. Go. Yeah. Well, I was fighting with this front hanger bar, so I just decided to take the nuts off. Do it old school. So slide your down, and just tighten these nuts up. There's a concave washer. Sucks it into that hole. That convex. The nut, and then a lock nut goes on top of that. You don't have to go crazy. I don't know if anybody was adjusting this already or what, but just lift it up so the deck's kind of level. Looks good to me. Pussy good.